Hello, hope you're well. Well, this is take two. They say be authentic, and I tried to keep going and finish the first attempt at this recording. Failed dismally as the absolute incredible cloud burst. Hence, my clothes are wet, my hair's wet, but I'm going to just redo it straight away anyway. I think the previous version will turn up at some point in those recording bloopers that I intend to do at some point where you'll see me trying to continue as I go undercover, but then they'll end up totally losing the plot and probably made it all a bit giddy as I carried all the equipment and stuff in. But the shower appears to have gone, he says, looking nervously over his shoulder. I can hear it disappearing into the distance, but I sit here wet. And but here we go. So this week I want to pick up on the story of Isaac and just a little bit from Genesis 26. One of the marks of Isaac was how incredibly blessed he was. Abraham was blessed, and Abraham, you know, increased in the size of his flocks, which was one of the ways that um, really was a mark of people that have been blessed. But you got Isaac here, and there was an incredible blessing on his life. And I just read this from Genesis 27, verse 12. It says, Isaac planted crops in that land, and the same year reaped a hundredfold because the Lord blessed him. And if you want to take a bit of time and look at the life of Isaac, then I think this is one of the real marks of who he was, that it seemed that everything he did was blessed. So here he plants his crops, he gets a hundredfold. Now, it just reminds me in the New Testament of the story or the parable that Jesus told about the sower. And yeah, we focus a lot on the poor ground, the stony ground, the thorns and the thistles. But I just for a moment want us to put our emphasis on the harvest. You see, it says the good soil brought a harvest, a 30-fold, a 60-fold, a hundredfold harvest. And we don't often focus on that little bit, but here Isaac got a hundredfold the same year. So my question for us and provocation for us is, are we going to be satisfied in life with the things that we sow our time, our resource, our finance into to bring a 30-fold harvest? Or are we going to be looking to God to bring the hundredfold harvest? And you think, well, what's the difference between those two? Now, just a little bit of a gardening picture here for you. Again, I'm out in my garden this evening, having dodged the shower. Well, I didn't dodge it very well. But areas of my garden this year took a long, long time to get going. And some of the flowers and the vegetables, they just weren't getting going in the way I thought they should. And also some of the things that I planted in the compost that I bought haven't got going. Now, what I did with the plants in the pots, I changed and bought a better compost or a different compost, and they've just shot away. And the plants in the garden, I did a bit of a soil test, and I could tell there was all the vital things in this soil that were missing. But in the quality of the soil, it didn't appear there was anything missing. But over time, they've all grown well and grown okay. But then I pop up the road and see someone who's been nurturing his soil for 20 years. And it's like anything that touches his soil just grows. It just is enormous immediately. And yeah, he's got a lot of skill, but it's all about the soil. You see, he's managed his soil to get the hundredfold. I haven't started managing my soil, so I'm going to have to work up towards that hundredfold blessing. So for us, in our walk in life with God, I think we can be good soil, but we can bring a change that brings a blessing that moves from a small blessing in our lives to a hundredfold type blessing. I think it's something to pray. I think it's something to ask God to open up any areas of blockage for us. Anyway, that's not really what I was going to emphasize on, but it talks of Isaac. He goes on and says he became very rich, and he said he became rich and his wealth continued to grow until he became very wealthy and he became the envy of those around. Then it refers to the wells that his father had dug. And he said that his father's servants had dug wells in the time of Abraham, but they'd all been filled up. And again, here in this passage, Isaac, he spends some time trying to undo them and redig them, and it results in quarrels, it results in arguments and everything else. But it's not really what the focus I want to bring here for us. But each of us will have a family history. Now, it might be as well that you have a natural family history and people that have been significantly influential in your life. And I think we have an inheritance that we gain in what appears a very natural way, but it's a God-given inheritance. You know, I I can look at some of my life and I can see down my family line there are things that are the same for me and the same for Tom, my son, and we've picked up a family inheritance that is something that we've looked and continue to look to cultivate in our lives and through our lives. But how about you? Are there areas which were skills, abilities, blessings that were on your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents that you need to pick up and believe God to add that mix to your life, and if you've got children, into your children's life, or if you haven't got birth children, that those that come near you, you're able to hand that on. Now, you think in the natural, how many times does a family of musicians produce musicians? How many times does a family of sports people produce sports people? Yeah. How many times does a family with business produce business people? Yeah. So have a look in your own life. So Isaac, yeah, he redug those wells, and they weren't his point of blessing. But for us, and the bit I want us to pick up is maybe they are our point of blessing. But then this is the thing I want to pick up on for Isaac towards the end of this passage. It said he dug another well, and no one quarreled over it. And he says this statement, now the Lord has given us room and we will flourish in the land. And it goes on and says, that night the Lord appeared to him and said, I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you and increase the number of your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham. Isaac built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord. There he pitched his tent, and there his servants dug a well. You see, for each of us, there's a wide open space, or as he says it, room to flourish in the land. You think, how often do we get stuck because we see other people flourishing in an area we want to flourish? You see other people growing in an area we want to grow. And our focus becomes them. Our focus becomes, have they taken our place, stolen our place? It might be in the workplace. It can be in all sorts of aspects of life where, jealousies and hurt and all sorts springs up on the inside because somehow we believe we've lost our opportunity. Do you know, in God, you can't lose your opportunity because what God's given you to walk in is yours and no one else's. And this bit here, where it says, the Lord has given us room. Do you know, the Lord gives you room to flourish in the land that he's given you. There's room for you and there's room for others. There's never a shortage of space to flourish. And I want to encourage you in the blessings in your life, in the things that you just feel in your gut are there to emerge, for there to be drawn out. Don't worry if someone steps into your place. I remember a key point in my life where it appeared that other people were stepping into space that I thought was mine. And God used it to deal with my own heart before stuff happened, so that I was willing to put things down and not allow all sorts to jump up in my heart. How about you? Are there areas where you need to bless people that are blessed in the areas that you want to grow in? I remember once, and I thought this is great. Yeah, if you see someone growing in the area that you want to grow in, or taking a space, don't just be a passive person towards them, but actively bless them, actively encourage them, actively even sow into what they're doing. Because in doing so, you're sowing into your destiny, your future, and your story. So Isaac found his wide open space. If there's areas of your life you feel confined, where you feel limited, then turn it all round and see it as your opportunity. Because so many times before the opportunity springs forth, limitation is in place. So Isaac, he was blessed, and that place of encounter, that place of blessing and wide open space became his place of encounter with God. And it's interesting, at that moment, God speaks a blessing on him, and he says, I'm doing it because of the sake of your forefathers. I think there's a place of blessing today that is released by previous generations. And I've certainly seen that in my life. We can talk about generational issues. Generational issues can provide limitation or create limitations, and they need to be broken. But they can give us the roots of our destiny, and they need to be cultivated. Anyway, that's a little thought for the day. Isaac, he grew in blessing. We're designed to grow in the blessing of God in multiple different ways. So I want to encourage you, if there's a place of limitation or a place that you haven't stepped into, bless others that already have. And I believe that will provide a greater seedbed for you to grow in God. Anyway, thanks for being with me again. And I managed this time to complete it without it raining again. Though I think I can just hear the rain coming. So bless you. Have a good day.